so mad at the internet!
Welcome back to the comment section where we answer your questions on body armor, firearms, and anything Second Amendment related. And today, I just want to get started out, Elliot, and talk about a post that you made over on x.com under RMA's account. You had noticed that now a firearms retailer, reseller, whatever you want to call them, they're advertising firearm kits now. You can get an AR with a red dot and a silencer and a bunch of 30-round mags. And to me, this kind of signals that really Second Amendment advocates are really making progress these days.
Yeah. To me, I looked at that as kind of a sign of the times because 10 years ago, you never would have seen this. You
Right.
definitely wouldn't have seen it 20 years ago. We've moved the needle so far in the restoration aspect of Second Amendment rights. It's almost amazing how far we've come. If you would have asked somebody 20 years ago whether this was possible, they would have balked at the idea of this, right? Everyone would just been like, you're crazy. There's no way it's ever going to happen. Even 3 years ago, people never thought we were going to get rid of NFA taxes. And here we are today.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, of course, there are still NFA technically, but the financial aspect of buying a silencer or building a silencer or buying an SBR, SBS, transferring one, that's gone. It's $0. Yes, you do still have to do the paperwork. Yes, it is unconstitutional, et cetera, but look at how far we've come, right? 29 out of 50 states have constitutional carry, and every state is now shall issue, technically. Yes, we are fighting, obviously, New York and California and Hawaii for this kind of stuff, but it is shall issue now. Yes, there is some credit that goes to the Supreme Court in this stuff, but the Supreme Court is a political body just like any other. They bow to the will of political pressure, just like regular politicians do. And they wouldn't be making decisions like McDonald or Bruin or Heller without significant public pressure to do so. I think a lot of that stems from the expiration of the assault weapons ban. And then the GWAT, obviously, there's a lot of money being poured into defense. And so manufacturers had a lot of money to play around with figuring new things out and, coming up with new triggers and new stocks and all these different things. Civilians glammed onto a little bit of this, and then the civilian side of it completely took off. And that's what's actually ended up driving military innovation in this sector. Yeah. And now that the civilian side is so well established, we've gotten to the point where NFA items like silencers are considered commonplace. I mean, this is something I spent a lot of sort of time and money putting together to be exactly what I want it to be. And it's not that much different from what's being offered in that package. Now, obviously, we can't say how much that is, but it's about what you would expect to pay for kind of a basic AR rifle.
Let's take a look at it really quick too, because I mean, there's some good aspects here, and obviously we can't show you the price. You're going to have to find it yourself. But like you're talking about, I mean, where could you have ever imagined? I wish that thing would get off the screen, but where could you have ever imagined getting a kit, an entry-level kit with a silencer on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, optics weren't standard 20 years ago. I remember the first time I'd ever heard of putting an optic on an AR-15, I think was in like Black Hawk Down or something like that. And that was like Delta guys, right? I mean, normal people weren't doing this. And by the time I got in the Marine Corps, they were just starting to put RCOs, ACOGs on everything. And so that was kind of a sea change with the military where we started putting optics on everything. And then civilians started going, oh, we can just put optics on everything. And now we're at the point where there's optics on pistols. And even that's standard. I think it was Gunsight was saying 70% of their training classes now people have optics on pistols. So this package now is being sold as just a normal thing that people will buy that has a red dot optic, a silencer, and like 10 mags. I mean, it used to be that people wouldn't even buy extra mags for their guns. They'd get the, 2 or 3 that come with their gun out of the box and they'd be done, right? We're in a whole different world now because the intent of the buyer when they go to buy one of these things is completely different. It's not FUDs going to shoot clays or hunting deer. It is specifically for the purposes of self-defense and national defense and that sort of thing, right? Having a prepared civilian militia. The use case is totally different. I mean, the sea change in attitudes about the Second Amendment has been astronomical over the past 20 years. And that is thanks to grassroots movements and all the work that people have put in groups like FPC, just dudes online forums, putting in the work and waiting 9 to 12 months to get a silencer to go, hey, don't you want one of these? And convincing people to get them. And now look where we are.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention, especially since this is more of an entry level kit. And so guys who are on, maybe more noobs like I am, would look at something like this and you can just get it in one kit. It makes it a lot simpler. However, we may have to mention when there's a silencer on there, how does that change when purchasing online due to the laws regarding purchasing silencers just in general?
Sure. So this is going to be, I have to assume, a package put together by the retailer, not the manufacturer. So it's not all going to show up in one box. You're going to do your standard FFL transfer and 4473 for the rifle. The optics and the mags, you'll just get that shipped to your house. The firearm itself, you're going to have that transferred to your local dealer, run your background check there, then you can take that. The can is going to be a separate deal, just like it always is with NFA stuff. So you are going to have to do some additional paperwork in regards to your passport photo, your fingerprints, the NFA paperwork, and you're going to have to wait for approval on the tax stamp, in which case, once that's done, then you can take delivery of that from the dealer. So it is going to be an extra step versus buying like a normal gun, even a normal gun you might buy online and have shipped to a dealer. There's going to be that NFA step. But today with eForms and the way that companies like Silencer Shop and Capital Armory have really streamlined that process and made it easy for people to work their own eForms account with the ATF, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised to find out how easy it is to get that sort of a thing done.
Yeah, it's really cool that they're making things like this mainstream, which makes me start to think of, some things that we do at RMA. We've been selling kits for a long time. And now, obviously, body armor doesn't have the restrictions or the laws necessarily that all the different accessories for firearms maybe do. But, we have these kits as well that, we can sell. I mean, you look here, if you want to get a full package right now, you can get a pair of 1165s, which, the Sappy 6.1 pounds, the shooter's cut version is 5.3 pounds. And then it comes with a pair of trauma pads if you want that for a little extra blunt force trauma protection. And then it's a free plate carrier. And so just like you talk about with the AR, you can get all of this stuff from us. And this isn't the only kit that you can get, but I mean, you can relatively outfit yourself for a decent price these days. And when you talk about, Second Amendment advocates making progress, when you talk about these things becoming more mainstream, it's definitely on the other side of the Second Amendment as well with body armor.
Yeah, I think that actually that dovetails nicely in with the perception aspect of that retailer's putting that package together for a reason because of that Second Amendment intent, buyer's intent behind it, because it is a civilian militia aspect. Nowadays, in 2026 at least, it's almost seen as kind of a basic requirement to have a silencer, sort of like you got to have a plate carrier of some kind, right? And I think now most people have kind of moved past steel at this point too. So now everyone just goes, hey, and you'll see it in online forums all the time. They'll go, hey, 1155s, man. Like if you don't have a bunch of money, get a plate carrier and some 1155s. Okay. Like basic stuff. You got to have that. You got to have,
Right.
bare minimum, 3 mags on a plate carrier. I myself try to go for 7, 8, 9 if I can. But I mean,
Right.
that's more advanced user stuff where you start going, okay, I really want to customize this stuff. But if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of knowledge about this stuff, you don't have an enormous parts bin, like I do, of all the spare AR parts that you
Right.
bought over the years, all the different plate carriers, all the different pouches. If you don't have that stuff and you're trying to get started, go get yourself a package. You can save a ton of money. Yes, you are going to find out later that maybe I want to change this. I want to customize this. Maybe, I actually want this thing later. Sure. But if you don't already have that knowledge enough to figure that stuff out, go seek that knowledge, sure. But in the meantime, get yourself a basic setup to start with.
Yeah, and this, I think, when you look at it, it's good to have. I mean, right there, you've got the carrier, and then you've got the plates, right? So that's the bare minimum of what you need, and you can stay defensively protected. Now, obviously, like you said, if you want mags on there in the future, obviously you'll want those. You get some mag pouches. You're obviously going to want a med kit on there, and there are a variety of other things that you'll want to attach as well. But at least you have the starting point, and that's kind of the point, especially for someone who's just kind of getting into the game, just starting to understand what's out there.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about that package is you won't need to upgrade the plates, right? Is the
Right.
plates are kind of a buy once, cry once type of thing. You really don't want to have to buy new ones if you don't have to. The 65 Gen 2s, go ahead, do your research. You're not
Yeah.
going to want to upgrade those again. So you are starting right there with the majority of the expenditure on this package on something that you're not going to have to upgrade, right? If you actually look at the price of this compared to 265s, I think it's like $60 more because of the included trauma pads, right?
Yeah.
That's it. You are getting a free plate carrier in there. So even if you're just going to buy a pair of 65s, might as well get some trauma pads and a free plate carrier with it too.
Exactly. And so, like I said, great starting point. And it's great that companies are doing this now and making it easier to kind of dip your toe into this and doing it at an affordable rate, especially with where we see the economy right now, especially. But before we wrap this up, Ellie, I wanted to bring up a comment. Since this is the comment section, we got this. Previously, we had run a sale for our 1155 Gen 2s, good price. And then we get a comment. I shouldn't say a good price, it's a phenomenal price at 170, what we were running that sale at for a plate that's as low as 6.6 pounds, which is absolutely unheard of at that price point, especially for an American made plate. But this comment, we get these all the time. And so that's why we have to address this all the time. But this guy made this comment, Dougie Gob. I don't know, whatever that means. Dougie. He says, in reference to the plates, and they don't have NIJ cert, LOL, as good as Chinese made plates. I mean, like, do you address something like that? Or, do we just
I
explain it on the comments section, right?
Yeah, I actually did post a reply to that, which was almost kind of bait. But I've said this before. If your bottom line rule is I have to have something that's certified, then you're not going to be able to buy any high end plates from virtually anybody. And you can go look at the NIJ compliant list and the product catalog, and what you're going to find, whether it's RMA, LTC, HiCom, any of the big manufacturers out there, people don't certify their high end products. They certify their base model products. And there's a few reasons for that we've talked about in the past in terms of why you do or don't certify NIJ certify certain products. I think people need to understand that NIJ compliance is actually the exception. It's not the rule. That's not a bare minimum. It's just you make some products to do that thing so that it's aimed at law enforcement markets. Law enforcement, by and large, is not spending a huge amount of money on hard armor. They're spending it on soft armor. So it's more of a specialty item there. If it's going to be eligible for BVP funding, you're talking about an agency spending quite a lot of money on that. And they're not going to want to spend that on a high-end plate. They want to spend it on an affordable plate. So that's why you always see low-end plates get certified and high-end plates simply don't. And you don't do that because you're, first of all, not aiming at the law enforcement market. And when it's higher priced, you're not going to sell as high of a volume, right? If you're not going to sell as high of a volume, that means you're not buying as much material. The material manufacturers are not just going to make the same stuff forever. They're constantly innovating and trying to make new stuff all the time. So if that plate, if that material that I'm using on the backer, or they change a little thing on the ceramic or whatever, gets changed by them, I lose the certification on that. All the money I invested on that is gone. Now, I can understand from the NIJ's perspective, of course, you don't want us to change materials in a plate because how do they know it's a better material, right? Without doing the testing. But people need to understand, once you certify, you can't change a thing. And if that's the case, then if you're selling a low volume plate, you're always running the risk of the material manufacturer going, hey, we're going to change this thing about it. Or in the case that we had with some of our polyethylene before, it's like we have to order it quarterly and the panic buying sets in. And so the manufacturing side of it can't really deal with this sort of slow supply chain because we're trying to keep up with orders, right?
Right.
So if that plate was certified, we wouldn't be able to give people a plate. They just have to sit around and wait for months and months and months. And you wonder why the industry is so slow.
Yeah, exactly. And the other part of this is that's not talked about is the transition. We've been under the '06 certification or compliance standard for quite a while, quite a few years. Well, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago now. Maybe I'll need to look that up, but it's been quite a few years since they announced the new standard, the '07 standard. And so, but it still hasn't officially come out as of this recording in May of 2026. So, how do you innovate when there's no standard to currently get in compliance with until it's officially out? And so we came out with these Gen 2 level 4 plates, the 1155 and the 1165, and they can't get certified or be made compliant just yet. And so that's something that customers need to recognize as well, as we've mentioned before, too.
Yeah, and the NIJ06 protocol has been closed for 2 years,
Right.
over 2 years, almost 2.5 years now. We would have had to invent these plates 3-ish years ago if we wanted to get them NIJ certified under NIJ06. So now that it's been closed for 2.5 years, we could never have put them in to be tested in the past, whatever it's been, year or so that we've had these things, basically in R&D and then on the market. That's impossible. It can't be done until NIJ07 is opened up, because even if you test for it right now and it is certified, you can't tell anybody because the list isn't published. So just you got to understand there's so much more that goes into manufacturing and marketing body armor than just going, well, I'm only going to buy NIJ certified plates. Well, okay, that's fine. Then you're only going to be able to buy the thickest, heaviest plates on the market. You'll never be able to buy a high-end plate.
Exactly.
It's your choice. And again, just to reiterate that, not an RMA thing. Go look at HiCom, go look at LTC, go look at anybody that you want and find their highest end products and their lowest end products. Look at the product catalog, open up 2 tabs in your browser. Product catalog of your favorite manufacturer, NIJ compliant list. Compare the two. Okay? You're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. There's only 1 or 2 models certified, compliant, and they're the lowest tier models that they make.
Yeah, and so I think it comes down to due diligence, right? Checking out test reports. I know we have them online for you to look at. You can check those out. Other companies you may have to email or call to get them sent to you to view. And obviously, there's gun tubers all over the place that are testing body armor plates as well. So there's a variety of ways to see if the products are good and will suit your needs depending on whatever use case you need your plates for. And so there's a lot of avenues to look at when it comes to body armor. And NIJ compliance isn't the end all be all. That's not me saying that or us saying that just because, our newest products aren't yet certified. Okay. There's a reason for it. And we will definitely be down that path in the future. So if you have any more questions for us about NIJ compliance or anything else, body armor related, Second Amendment related, whatever it is, we'll be happy to talk about it here on the comment section. But for now, we are going to sign off and say, see you next time.
Bye, guys.